In this episode, we have animation, digital painting, fly tying, and cooking 6 different dishes. That's a lot to pack in. We better get started. Strap in and hang on. Ahoy, you salty sailors. Time to raise anchor and set sail for your best scrawny life. Arrgh. So, jumping right into a species spotlight. Now, the last couple episodes we've focused on various boletes. So let's take a break this time and look at a guild mushroom, Lactifluus volemus. This is an ectomycorrhizal fungus that associates with oaks and hickories, so it will fruit from the ground in mid to late summer. The cap is tawny colored, and the stem, although lighter than the cap, is also somewhat tawny colored. It produces a white spore print, and it does have the adnate and sometimes even slightly decurrent gill attachments, although there are the mellulae, or partial gills, that start at the cap margin but don't reach the stem. One of the key identifying factors is the copious amount of white latex that comes out wherever the mushroom is broken or cut. This latex has a fishy smell, although that disappears when the mushroom is cooked, and this is a fairly good edible mushroom. The latex produces brown stains on anything that it comes in contact with once it begins to dry a little bit. The gills are more closely spaced than, and that's a key identifying thing. You don't want the latex to, let's say, stain yellow or something like that, which would be a different species. The gills are more closely spaced than the look-alike Lactifluus hygrophoroides, which is also an edible. Some of you may recall episode 5, where I caught my first bowfin on fly. And being midwinter now, I have been daydreaming about those warm and sunny days on the Mississippi River. But anyway, I was in the Lake Odessa Inlet in the Mississippi River Valley, and I was using a fly inspired by a design from Fishin' Dave. Before that, I'd been trying various kinds of weedless flies due to the fact that bowfin often inhabit weedy environments. But when a bowfin struck, they would either jump up and spit the hook, or they would tangle around branches and weeds and shake free of the hook, because as always with those weedless designs, the hook penetration wasn't very deep. So Dave's original design was built with a bold, fully exposed hook point for hooking fish first and foremost, but it had a large cone head, and my idea here is to slightly modify that design by building the cone head out of plumber's epoxy in a way that's asymmetrical. So it's heavier on the side without the hook point. So hopefully it will swim hook point up and give just a little protection from being snagged on branches and weeds and lotus stems and so forth. So, and this particular one, you'll note that I attached a fast attach clip to the tail of the fly with 20-pound fluorocarbon. So that way I could clip on a treble hook or something if I'm fishing and want to switch species to like gar or something. But otherwise, it's just real simple. Just has a sculpin wool and a little bit of ostrich herl for the tail, and then I'm laying down some waterproof adhesive and wrapping craft fur into that glue to hold it on really strongly. You'll remember in the last episode I had this idea for an intro that was bat life and spider life and scrawny life, and I worked on that a little bit, but in the meantime I came up with an idea I liked a little better. So we have this text that's following the emerging from the background along a perspective grid, and I've plotted some keyframes that if we jump into the graph editor you can see the curve on that it's fairly decent. And so we're going to have an ink splash on the background. Now that is an actual movie, and I've also plotted the same curve so that it follows that text. And we're going to add some fish. We'll create another animated swim cycle. So that's going to take some time. So in order to save time for that, I'm just going to trace a photo here, and then we'll color it and so forth. So yeah, that's a project we'll be working on through several episodes. I'll just keep adding stuff to it and refining it a little bit each episode, and check back next time to see what it looks like. Alright, digital painting. Now, the last episode we kind of finished up the figures in the foreground, and so let's start painting the clouds. My original idea was based on a painting that Salvador Dali did back in the 60s at some point. I think it was called Battle in the Clouds or something like that, where he had sort of a classical antiquity sort of battle scene going on, and there was a figure in the foreground just kind of watching it, and it was these shapes of clouds, and so I kind of am basing my idea on that. That's kind of where we're headed with this. But if you have a better idea, if you'd like to see something else depicted in this way, pop a comment down there, and if I like your idea, we might change it. So, but right now we've got kind of Alexander the Great sort style cavalry charge or something, I guess, going on here. We'll see. We'll keep playing with it, see what happens. I mean, we've stretched this painting out now over several episodes, so we'll be lucky if we finish this thing before spring comes, I guess. So let's dive into the wok cookery. And so this all kicks off with a massive haul from Sea Fresh Market on University Avenue in Des Moines. And we're going to get some water in the pot and get our bones down there. Get that all started. Going to set some water on the boil to parboil our bamboo. Get that going, and then we're going to start coring out some bitter melons. This is an ingredient I don't have a whole lot of experience with, so I chopped that up and pulled the bamboo, and then I parboiled the bitter melon. It ended up, I probably should have left it in there a little longer. It kind of started to change color a little bit, so I pulled it out, but I think it probably could have gone just a little longer. But we'll get to that later. You'll notice here there was quite a bit of blood that came out of the bones. So I drained that, rinsed them, drained it again. So then we put some more water in, and we're gonna see how that goes. So, and I'm also chopping up some Thai eggplants there. You just saw that. And this is pork heart. Now you'll notice there's no intramuscular fat marbling or anything. It's chewy, but it's not really tough. It's a great kind of meat, once you get kind of used to it. You want to cut away any valves or anything like that and just use the pure muscle. This here is tripe, beef tripe, the first time I've ever attempted to use it, I did parboil that as well, but there we're draining some of the rinse water off that heart, so quite a bit of blood came out of that. So we'll give it another rinse cycle, and we're going to rinse our rice here a couple times. And yeah, basically the tripe I should have parboiled. I mean, it needs to it's just too chewy. It needs to soften up. You know, I probably should have gone for a half hour or something. So we've mixed up a marinade for our beef, for our pork heart strips, I mean. And so now we're just going to break down a couple mangoes, shred them up, and start shredding up some carrots, and a little Thai basil. Get that all chopped up, stirred in. And so basically, this is heading towards the green mango salad direction. I put in a few Szechuan peppercorns, a little tom yum powder, a little dried shrimp. And instead of chilies, I've got the lauganma with the fermented soybeans. And we're going to have some fish sauce, some lime juice, and the zest of one lime as well. And stir that all in. That makes a pretty good green mango salad. I mean, it's not authentic or whatever, but I'll give myself an 8 out of 10 out of that because it tasted good. So now the aromatic mix for our stir fries is going to be chopped garlic, a little bit of grated turmeric, and a little bit of grated galangal. And on to the stir frying we go. We've got the wok and the big burner set up. So that was tripe and bamboo with a little bit of the Thai eggplant as well. And this time we've got another heat of the same thing, but instead of making a sauce out of soy sauce and spicy bean paste and whatnot, I'm just using the oyster sauce. So we'll see how that turns out. And we got another couple heats going with our pork heart and bitter melon. And I'm putting some of the spicy bean paste, the lauganma spicy bean paste in there as well, and the chili crisp. So I'll give myself a 6 out of 10 on the tripe, just because I didn't. It was a little too chewy. I didn't boil it down. First time I've ever worked with that as an ingredient. It tastes pretty good, but yeah, it's chewy. It needs to be boiled down for a little while. Now our pork heart with bitter melon, like I said, I should have parboiled that bitter melon just a little bit longer, just a little bit past the color change. It's, I think, where you want to go. It still was a little bit bitter, but I kind of like that anyway. So yeah, I'll give myself a 7 out of 10 on that. The pork heart was really good, perfectly cooked, and the bitter melon just still had a little bit of crunch, a little snap to it. There's some of those eggplants. There's our rice that we made with the ground turmeric and garlic and galangal. And there's our pork heart and bitter melon dish, garnished with Thai basil. And that one I had the eggplant and the pork heart with the spicy bean paste. And what did I give myself, an 8 out of 10 on that? That was pretty good. So with the rice. So now we're going to put the rest of our tripe and some aromatics, the garlic and galangal, into our stock, into our bone broth. Get some water boiling. We're going to do some noodles here. These are the thick cut frozen noodles. Get them boiled off. So we'll take a little of our broth. And it smelled pretty good. It's been going for a couple hours at that point. Throw in our noodles, a little sliced lemongrass, and get that up to temp. So we're going to put in a little kimchi and garnish it with some Thai basil. And that turned out really good. I'm going to give myself a 9 out of 10 on that. I basically just sat there and ate that whole bowl. So yeah, that was good. You know, in the wintertime, you just can't beat that nice bone broth.